Hello accounts people, time to have a look at Sage. I've got the Sage open on one of the AAT practice papers. It's a slightly smarter version than the previous videos I've used, hence they're worth having a look at. We have very similar layout, much nicer, neater typefaces. There's a few things, few of the reports easier to find, but apart from that, it has a list of customers down on the left hand side. It has suppliers. There's suppliers. It focuses on bank accounts. Makes a lot of transactions easy because you quite often want to go straight to bank accounts. And the rest of the nominal codes is not listing them, although we can split them up and into the categories that are there. So apart from that, it doesn't do a lot of difference. It's got transactions to have an audit trail. Much the same as previous versions, hasn't massively changed. So we'll get on with our new exercise. So we're just going to open a company. I've made sure there's enough space. Some versions of Sage have a limit as to how many companies you can have. And we're on to the file, new setup a company menu. Of course, you don't often see this. If you're working in a company, you probably only set it up once and never again. So Campbell Kitchens is a very old, about 2013 or something, AAT practice paper. It will do perfectly good for our demonstration purposes. I'm not going to waste time typing in the names and addresses of towns and numbers. That would just get very boring. So it comes up with the same options as previous versions: sole traders, partnerships, limited companies, charities. We're going for sole traders now. It doesn't actually say so in this exercise. However, task 3, where you do the nominal ledger accounts, has capital and drawings in it, so it must be a sole trader. It would be shares and dividends if it was a limited company. The exercise tells us to start in May, and we'll put the date in later. Newer versions, including the AAT practice ones, actually give you a VAT number because it won't let you proceed unless you've got the correct format, but that is the correct format, and we have to tell it we're working on 20%. If you're not sure whether the company is VAT registered and it isn't clear in the instructions, have a look at the existing trial balance as VAT on sales and purchases in there. We're in pound, of course, and it's being done as we watch. So new company will come up in a second. We don't need to customize it. No customers, no suppliers, nothing in the bank, but they have been trading, so we better get on with setting up the customers. So two main ways of setting up customers. The wizard is possibly the best if you're not familiar with the package. What this does do better than the alternative is make sure you don't miss important information out. So the only bit that you cannot change afterwards, you can change company names, you can edit, delete transactions up until they're reconciled in the bank, but you cannot change this account reference. It becomes an open file. I'm not going to waste time filling in needless detail. So next, we better put in a credit limit. I don't like the idea of setting up without a credit limit. You'd always have one. And payment due days on this exercise are all 30, and we're setting up all opening balances always on the first of the month. If you don't tick this box, it just annoys you every time you go to the customer, reminding you haven't agreed terms with the customer. This is for online banking. We're not going to do that. And customers' bank accounts, if you do direct debits with them, don't do that. We haven't got that information. So 3 options for putting in the opening balance. No opening balance. We'll see that if we accidentally go past it. Individual transactions brings up this window. We'll do this one first. So we need to opening And this you would use if you've got multiple transactions, maybe credit notes and invoices, and you need to keep the age debtor analysis, so you need to know how long they are. This one says 2017.60. So even though it's designed for multiple entries, we can put one in. It's come up red because we only gave them a credit limit of 2,000. Well, I did, but didn't say so in the exercise. That's one done. So the wizard, as an alternative, we'll do it slightly different this way. I'll still use the wizard though. So, oops, that actually would have been how to change something. Notice as soon as I went off it, even though I'd put the code in, it changed the code on me. So I went back to correct the spelling mistake. Oops. Pretty much the same. I will give them a token. 30 days, 2,000, agreed. And the 1st of May. So one value then on this one, an invoice, comes up with opening balance and then 1597.60. Create. 2 done. So to do it differently, so this one, I'm not a big fan of it, but you type the account code in first, and it used to be worse on the old versions. It now knows that's a new account. It automatically recognises it as such. Put the name in, put the opening balance in, it automatically saves it for you. So it does that bit for you naturally, but the problem is you then tend to go save. Well, there's a lot we haven't put on this one, so if we double click on it, the first thing it does is remind us we haven't agreed the terms. That annoying little tick box. And in fact, everything we haven't put in that matters, because we haven't put addresses or anything in, is on this page. So there's our terms agreed, there's our 2,000 credit limit, and then we also hadn't put in an account open date, but now we have. Onto our suppliers, pretty much the same system. There's less icons on there, hence the wizard always comes up instead of just being hidden there. So we'll do the same. Do a mixture. Miss out the unnecessary detail. Token credit limit. That will the same. Bank account again. We don't do this, but this is for paying, and the same for the options for balances. So this time, if I didn't really mean to, missed off the balance, exactly the same would happen on the customers. I can go back and put an opening balance. Just remember, all opening balances okay, what have I done wrong? So if I forgot, it's no problem. I'll just put it in afterwards. And there we are. Done. Fixed. So again, pretty much the same options. Individual transactions or one value. We've only got one, so what's that one though? Because occasionally you end up putting in extra zeros on something. 2 down. So it's got the same option. New. Knows it's a new account, and I'll put in exactly the same system. So same options. Okay, save it. I'm definitely going to get it telling me off now for wrong date format. 097.40. Same options, same system. Because we've used the new, we've got to remember things like the credit limit, and we're going to get annoyed by terms agreed popping up, and we need to put the payment, and it thinks the account was opened on the wrong date. So personally, I would recommend getting used to the wizard. So 3 customers, 3 suppliers. So all we need to do now is the rest of our, or certainly in terms of setting the company up, set up the rest of our nominal code. So we could go through a wizard if we're really awkward, but actually this one we're better off on new. What we should have done is look at the list of nominal account codes. We should be familiar with them enough to be able to write out or sketch out which ones we're going to use. You'd normally have it pinned up on a wall next to your computer in a real company. Slightly missed that one. It should have been motor vehicles. So all assets under 1,000. We're using the name, so we don't need to change the name or anything. And that one's a debit. And they're in the right order. So I know that the next one's going to be the cutting account. So invest a bit of time learning the structure. Anything under 1,000 for assets. Bank accounts always 1,200 and something. Now if you go wrong on one of these and you click save, opening balances are corrected by opening balances. So if you credited instead of debited, same day, same amount, reverse it and then post correctly, just as you do in bookkeeping controls. What we're up to now is the next one will be the petty cash. Opening balance. That's petty cash 68.24. And then we have the awkward ones. Now I know sales tax control account is VAT on sales. Same date, our first credit entry. And the next one, purchase tax. So these are the default accounts that Sage will put VAT on purchases and sales to, unless you completely change the system, which is not recommended because you can be guaranteed to mess things up. So most of the way down the list, capital. So this is the bit why we knew it was a sole trader. Capitals, credits 26416. And drawings is 3050. The owner taking some money out to live off. before it tells me off, and the owner's taking out 350. So now we get to sales. Now nobody I know of makes a product called type A, or sales type A, so this one is the first one we've had to change the name on. We categorise it to suit ourselves. When we click on the opening balance, it will tell us to save it first. But what's actually one of the little improvements, you used to have to save it and then go back into it. Unless you've done it a few hundred times, you wouldn't appreciate. And then 4001, not sales type B. Say correctly, we have one more to enter, but if you've got a list in your instructions, now is the time to have a look. We could change these names afterwards, so if I forgot to change it from materials purchased, I'm not sure. Goods for resales is really a disaster, leaving it at that, but we can always change it afterwards. And then one last one we've got to put in, because the sales ledger and purchase ledger control has already been put in. It's the total of the customers and suppliers. So let's just have a quick look. There's all our transactions put in. Notice the double entries into a suspense account. Now would be a good time to change dates if I'd forgotten any of the dates. Notice just a slightly different way. That's when I wasn't using the wizard to put opening balances in, but it still comes up as invoices appropriately. So onto nominal codes. This is where our trial balance, so even if the instructions don't tell you to check your trial balance, you do, because it's going to be a lot harder to change everything afterwards. And there's our trial balance. It won't be one of our reports that we run, but it's essential to make sure there's no suspense account. We've got the right amounts in everything at the moment, and that's our first part of setting up our company. We've set the company up, we've set our customers, our suppliers, and put in our first trial balance amounts in. So we put our first nominal accounts, we changed a few titles.